Good morning, Mets fans, and happy day after Christmas. Hope everyone had a lovely holiday. I am back for another episode of Driving with Mr. Met. Yes, I am Mr. Met, and today I'm going to talk about one of the gifts that the Mets gave us as fans for Christmas, and I also want to address something I read yesterday, or not yesterday, I guess the day before yesterday, on Mets blog, and I want to talk about that today. The present for Mets fans was a time machine, or at least, it might as well be. The news was announced right before Christmas, I think the day before Christmas Eve, that the Mets would be bringing back former general manager Sandy. That's like, we'll be hearing that in a few years, I guess, right? The Mets are going to bring back former general manager Sandy Alderson. No, former general manager Omar is back in the fold as a special assistant to general manager Sandy Alderson. This is why I brought up the time machine thing, because of course Omar has a legacy here with the Mets. It was he who orchestrated those mid-2000 teams that were so good but just missed. We don't need to revisit what happened in 07 and 08. We don't need to revisit Omar's overreaction to what happened in 07 and 08. But if you look at his history as general manager of the Mets, he did a really nice job. He put together a really good team consistently. He did not complain about payroll, which is what we hear so much of today. And of course, that was pre-Madoff. I know, not to harp on the Wilpons like I seem to be doing, but Omar has, very much like Sandy Alderson, two sort of glaring black marks on his, or red marks on his resume. And for Omar, his two marks are the ridiculous contracts that he gave to, bidding against no one, by the way, that he gave to Luis Castillo and Oliver Perez. And it really, if you look at it in comparison to what Sandy's blunders, the two big ones had been, which last week we talked about, Murph and Turner, I think in the scheme of things, the Murph and Turner blunders are way worse, way worse than the Castillo and Ollie blunders. But, regardless, look, the bottom line is Omar is not general manager. He is a special assistant. He's going to be a part of the front office. I think his presence is a good sign for the Mets perhaps dipping back into the international market, which they have neglected so significantly under the Sandy Alderson regime. And again, I don't want to blame Sandy. I'm not saying that he's purposely not signing young Latin players or the like, but it just doesn't seem like the Mets are getting much press for that. They used to really have that strong presence in the Dominican Republic, etc. And it doesn't seem like they have that anymore. So again, I don't think that there's anything to be concerned about with Sandy being brought on board, or I keep saying Sandy, with Omar being brought on board. He had a couple of nice comments in his press conference, so we'll see what happens. I don't think there will be an issue with the two guys working together, Omar and Sandy. So, this is not a bad thing, and anyone that thinks it is overthinking it, I believe. Second thing I want to talk about this morning is a rumor I read about the Mets shopping Juan Lagares. And on Mets blog, I think they summed it up perfectly. And I think it was Danny Abriello who commented on it on Mets blog, who just really hit the nail on the head, basically saying, if you're going to trade Lagares to improve the team elsewhere, that's fine. But if you're floating a trade of Juan Lagares out there as a way to free up payroll, payroll flexibility, give me a break. I'm paraphrasing, of course, but that's pretty much what it said. It's like, what is this team? If are you really that desperate for a few $1 million that you're going to trade away a guy who is an elite defender in center field? Elite. Now, is Juan Lagares ever going to win a batting title? No. Is Juan Lagares ever going to be a home run champ? No. Juan Lagares going to steal 60 bases? No. He doesn't need to be those things. I've talked about it time and time again. Juan Lagares is a defensive specialist. And defense is so important when your team is built behind a pitching staff. Asterisk, of course. Caveat being that pitching staff stays on the field. But that's neither here nor there. Juan Lagares can pick it in center field. He's one of, if not the best, center fielders in baseball. The idea of trading him for payroll flexibility is a joke. It's as ridiculous as the notion of trading Harvey for payroll flexibility. Now, if you're putting together some sort of a package where you're going to get players in return, it's a different story. Totally different story. Where you might get a center fielder in return. Great, perfect. If Lagares isn't on the roster, the way it's constructed presently, the Mets do not have a center fielder. Also, keep in mind the fact that Michael Conforto, it's already been reported, will miss the beginning of the season, so they don't have a right fielder right now either. So they've got Cespedes and his questionable quads, Brandon Nimmo, who, because of him, we didn't need Stanton, and insert player to be named later. I mean, so the idea of Lagares being trade bait and being traded right now just seems completely ludicrous to me. But we'll see what happens. So I'm hoping it's just nonsense rumors and it doesn't materialize into anything. But we'll keep an eye on it, and of course, if something happens, I will complain. So I thank you for watching. Not a whole lot to talk about today, and this week will probably be another slow and quiet one. But if any news breaks, I will be certain to comment on it with another Driving with Mr. Matt video. Until that time, again, I thank you for watching. Follow me on Twitter at Mr_Met. And as always, let's go